Things have been going really well here on the farm. We've gotten a lot of stuff planted this week, and we are excited because we've been selling lots of tubers out of our tuber store. And I wanted to take a minute to congratulate our winner of our collection of dahlia tubers. So Molly Greenwood was our winner of our box of tubers, and then because we were so excited by how many people responded and we had some tubers to add, we put a second box, and so that's going to go to Jen Lynn. So those are the two winners of those dahlia tuber boxes. If you are one of those people, please send me a message on the YouTube channel and I will get it and we will send those out to you as soon as we can. So congratulations. And after that excitement, I wanted to talk about compost. So I'm down here at the field today and we're looking at some of our compost piles, and I realized that over the course of my videos I've mentioned that we use compost or we use mulch, and so I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of definition to what I mean when I say that. We use a couple of different types of material for composting and for mulching, and we do it for a few different reasons. One is because our soil in some of the fields that we're growing in has been pretty depleted because of conventional methods of growing mostly Christmas trees, and so we're using it for a little bit of help with our tilth, with the kind of the substance and the feeling and the substrate of our soil, to give it a little bit more organic material in there. Along with that, we get some nutrient boost out of the compost. We also use it for top mulching on top of beds, which gives us both the benefit of helping with weed control and also with moisture retention. So we use a few different materials, and I wanted to start with what we produce here on the farm, show you what that looked like, and then move to some of the things that we bring in to add in for extra help. We just cannot produce enough compost on farm in order to use all of our own. So we do as much as we can, and then we bring in outside compost after that. Behind me is a pile that was started last year with basically refuse from around the farm. So weeds when we pull them, plants when they get done, soil that's coming out of plug trays or pots or whatever we have that needs to go into the compost. We make big piles of it, and we make them here on farm. But you can see this is just a small pile of compost. So we'll use it when it's ready, but it's just not quite enough to get us through. So I'm going to take you over and show you some of the compost that we bring in from outside sources. So besides the compost that we make ourselves here on the farm, we buy in this compost from a local facility. It's made up of mostly like landscape material that's being composted. So it is something that we can get in large quantity, and they bring it out in a dump truck and dump it, which is really convenient for us, so we don't have to be running dump trucks back and forth. And it is just a really good addition to our soil in order to get some of that organic material back in after it's been depleted for years and years. So it's pretty well composted. It's ready to incorporate. And I'm going to show you a couple of different applications that we have for that. Like I said, one of the ways that we utilize the compost is by incorporating it into our soil to help build what soil is here into a little bit of a happier place for our plants to grow. And right here is a pretty good example of that. This is an area that this will be the second year that we will plant it in here. Second year we've done essentially the same process where we bring in the compost, we put down maybe 6 or 8 inches of compost kind of over the entire area, and then we incorporate it with the tillers in order to help build that soil and get us ready to plant. So this area is going to be put into beds and set for crop tomorrow, and then we'll plant it. Another way that we use the compost and mulch here on the farm is for weed suppression and for water retention, which are both big facets of our farm needs, and it helps, both of those things help to alleviate labor costs for us. So you can see that behind me these are Dahlia Beds, and off to this side these are Dahlia Beds that we have not quite mulched yet. But you can see that we have already incorporated that compost into the soil, much as I was just showing you, and we've planted dahlias. And then what we'll do to those beds is what we've done over here, which is to lay about a 2-inch layer of mulch on top of them. So that's going to help, especially with the smaller annual weeds that we contend with, just to help us get a little bit of a jump on them and hopefully smother some of those seeds so we don't have quite as much labor in the peak of the summer trying to get weeds out. Once the dahlias get up and going, they do a really good job of shading out the weeds themselves. And then the compost will also help to retain some of the moisture as the drip lays moisture down on the soil. So those are really good ways that we use the compost. And then I'm going to show you one last way that we use mulch here on the farm. In addition to our own compost and the landscape compost that I showed you, we also utilize wood chips here on the farm. And this is a little bit more for weed suppression and moisture retention, but definitely something that we use in pretty specialized cases. It is it's very fresh, it's very new. You can see it's literally just chipped up wood with like some needles in there. This we get from arborists. So that's a great connection to try to make if you are wanting chips like this, to connect to your local arborists, your local power companies who might be trimming trees along the road, your local utilities. They can point you in the direction of where you can get chips like this, and hopefully delivered and for a reasonable cost. This is a crop, these are Thornless Blackberries. So this is a crop that's a long-term perennial crop, and they are a great place to put these wood chips because they're going to break down over the course of multiple seasons, and they're going to suppress weeds really well for us. The blackberries are really hardy. They aren't going to be affected like the same way that like an annual or even some like more tender perennials would be with the chips, because keeping in mind that these chips are going to continue to break down, and they're going to tie up some of the nutrients that are in the soil that we would rather have available to those annual crops. So that's why we don't use them on annual crops. But here in the woodies and in the berries and the perennials, we do utilize them a little bit more. They're really great for weed suppression as well as, again, moisture retention. And you can see there are some weeds that are popping up through the wood chips, but one, there's not nearly as many as there would be otherwise, and two, the wood chips help so much with the soil, and they make the weeds so much easier to pull out. So we like to use them on those kind of crops. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful, kind of getting a little bit of a feel for what the different composts and mulches are that we use here on the farm. And I hope that you'll come back by. So thanks for swinging by the farm. See you next time.